Welcome to Bridging the Gap with Sal Mendez. Bridging the Gap is here to bridge the gap for the city's future success, to reach out to the lost and bring souls to know Jesus Christ, to help restore lives and do God's extraordinary work. Right now, here's Sal Mendez.
Well, good evening, KDRY listeners. We thank you again for tuning in to Bridging the Gap radio talk show. Whereas you know, each week we are inspired by faith and are committed to action to do God's work in whatever capacity that He deems fit for us to be able to make an impact in our community, in our city, throughout our state, even the nation. So we thank you again for being with us. For those of you who are listening for the very first time, we want to welcome you. If you are with us from the very beginning, we thank you again for sticking around and being part of our Bridging the Gap radio program. You know, each week we bring you special guest speakers, and today I have someone very special that I had the pleasure of meeting this past week. And she is just someone who is an ordinary person, you could say, but you know, God sometimes uses ordinary people to do extraordinary things. And I believe that this is the case with this young lady that is here with us today, and I want you to meet her, and I want her to say hello to the people that are listening out there right now.
Hello.
Her name is Lupita Gutierrez, and she's just an ordinary individual. I love the fact that ordinary individuals sometimes do so much for the community, and sometimes you don't even hear about them. You don't even know who they are or what they're about, but you see the work that they do and how they are able to impact people's lives. And for me, that I think is the greatest thing, because a lot of times I know that, you know, I'm not saying everyone, I'm not saying that all people do this, but a lot of times people do certain things to try to get photo ops to let people know, look what I'm doing. And, you know, by talking with her, you know, she really states, she says, it's about being humble. And I agree with her 100%. You know, it's not about what we do, but what God does through us. And I think she is a prime example of someone who is doing something for the community, and I want her to share her story with you, because I believe that we need more individuals like this. And I know they're out there, but again, like I said, they're not out in the forefront. They're not, you know, in front of the TV camera, or, you know, they're not articles that are being written about them, but yet they do so much. And these are the people that I want to give a shout out today. That those of you that are maybe doing this, I want to thank you and ask God to continue to give you strength to do what you're doing, because I know there's people that work behind the scenes that do so much that we don't even know about. So I want to welcome to our program here tonight, Lupita Gutierrez. Lupita, thank you so much for sharing and for being here, giving up your time to be able to share what you're doing. And I want people to know exactly what you do and how you got started and how you're making an impact on the community. Give us a little bit of background detail. Where are you from?
Well, sure. And first, thanks for having me. I really appreciate it. Well, okay, so my name is Lupita Gutierrez, and I'm originally from Laredo, Texas, but I've been in San Antonio for the past 4 years. Okay. So yeah, I'm a single mother of 4 kids. I have an 8, 9, let me remember. I forget their ages. I have an 8, a 9, a 14-year-old, and a 17-year-old. Wow. So yeah, I have my hands full.
Yeah, I mean, with those ages,
yeah,
wow, I can just imagine, you know, everything that you have to deal with. They're right in the prime age of, you know, you have to keep an eye on them all the time, right?
Yeah, it's a challenge. It's definitely interesting.
Yes. So are you originally from Laredo, Texas?
Yes, I'm originally from Laredo, Texas. Yeah, I moved up here, like I said, almost 4 years ago. I fell in love with San Antonio and decided to purchase a home here in the Dellview area of San Antonio, which for me was not knowing the city was centrally located for me. You know, it can get to downtown pretty fast. I mean, I'm just very centrally located, I feel.
Right.
So and I fell in love with my community. I feel it's a little bit like Laredo, because Laredo's small, obviously smaller city, and so I feel the sense of community there, and that's why I wanted to be in that community, that area.
Right. And you know, talking with you when I was meeting you, we have a lot of things in common, because I really believe in what you're saying about being humble and serving, and just, you know, wanting things not for us specifically. Another thing that I just, you know, when you said that, I clicked. I also am from Laredo, Texas.
Oh,
Yeah, I was born there. Yeah.
Oh.
And so
Well, then we probably know if you're from Laredo, everybody knows everybody. So
Well,
we
maybe.
probably know people in common if we were to dig in.
But that was a long time ago, So yeah, my parents moved from Laredo, Texas, down here when I guess maybe before I was 1, but been here pretty much in San Antonio all my life. But and you live close to where I live, over there on the Dellview off of Fredericksburg Road as well. So
yeah, we're neighbors. You're from
almost.
Balcones Heights, yes.
Yeah.
And like I said earlier, I service some of the families there in Balcones Heights as well. So.
Yeah, and I want to get to that, what you're doing, but
Sure.
what really moved you, or what did you see, or what inspired you to do what you're doing right now, and let people know what exactly you're doing to help the community.
Absolutely, and I love sharing my story because it comes from the heart. When COVID happened, I really wasn't taking it seriously. And so it wasn't until I started seeing people rush to the stores and fill up their carts with, toilet paper and,
The essentials. I don't know why
the essentials, that I thought, well, maybe I should go to H.E.B. and buy some food for my kids, and start, get my own things, before things. That's why I started, I was like, wait, what's going on here? So I went to H.E.B. and my local neighborhood H.E.B. and it took me about 45 minutes to pay because there was just so many people there, and I saw carts full, exactly what you're seeing on social media and on the news, that it was going on, and I couldn't believe it. I was just like, what is going on? Are we in a movie?
It was a panic rush.
Yes, I couldn't believe it. So I'm in a way I was glad that I went, but I was looking around and very observant, looking at my surroundings, and I saw, people with their full carts of water bottles and cases of water bottles and toilet paper, and it's overflowing. Some people had 2-3 carts with them. And I understand you don't know what to do, what's going to happen. But then I looked to the side, and I remember seeing an elderly man that had his little red basket, full of, just I guess basic necessities that he needs.
The little one, right? It wasn't the cart.
No, it wasn't the cart. No,
ones.
it was a little basket. Yeah. And I thought, I'm waiting in line for 45 minutes, and here he is, having to wait, 40 some minutes to pay for his goods. And so that night I went home, and it didn't sit well with me, and I couldn't sleep. So the next day I reached out to our community Facebook page, which most communities have, and that's how they stay connected. They find out about crime, about, all sorts of issues, even if somebody's getting rid of something, anything on your community page. And I reached out to my community, basically just saying if there was anybody, any elderly citizens, residents, neighbors that needed assistance, to please just reach out, because I just couldn't fathom us being in a pandemic and then having, my 70-year-old neighbor, having to wait in line or not find something. I can do that. I can go to H.E.B. I make several trips a week to H.E.B. Because I have 4 kids, and it doesn't take much just to go and pick up some eggs or some milk or some butter, bread, whatever it is that your neighbor might need.
Right, just some basic things that they need to survive, right?
Exactly, yes. So that's how it all started. A neighbor reached out to me, private messaged me, and said that there was a lady that might be of assistance. She was wheelchair bound. Elderly lady, lived by herself. So I reached out, and that's how it all started. I went, got her some groceries, asked what she needed, and that's basically how it started, to be honest with you. And then about a week later, Second Chance Ministries, Pastor Robles, I saw on a Facebook flyer that he was going to have a huge elderly distribution. It was it was for anybody, but it was targeted for the elderly citizens. So I contacted him to see if it would be okay if I picked up for this neighbor of mine. I didn't know if that was okay. I didn't know what they were going to ask for. I'm not related to her. I just wanted to pick up some food for her. Right. So we got to talking, and 5-minute conversation turned into a little bit of a longer conversation. I offered my services and said, how can I help you? I want to help. He said, well, I don't have any drivers. Excuse me. I don't have any drivers. So would you be willing to maybe take a list of and deliver some to those that are most vulnerable? For example, the lady I was helping that
Right.
was wheelchair bound,
Mm-hmm.
you know? And I said, absolutely. So I went back and said to my community page and put it out there that I'm going to be delivering. I don't care if it takes all day. If you want me to deliver some food to you, just contact me. And so that turned into a small list of, I want to say it was between 35 and 40 people. And that's how it happened. It came into fruition. So that Saturday I showed up to Mr. Robles' event, which was an amazing event.
There's a lot of people.
Oh my God.
There was a lot of people.
I had never
remember.
seen anything like it, really.
Mm-hmm.
There and I don't think they were expecting, and also, you know, there was a lot of elderly people, you know, walking, and it was,
Yes.
you know, with their.
You have a lot of walk-ups a lot of times. People don't have vehicles, they don't have transportation, so they have to basically just go walking.
Yes, and when I saw what was going on, I was amazed because he had so much manpower, so much people wanting to help, volunteers, you know, taking water to the cars, and I was just very impressed. Well, I drove up and they filled up my car. I mean, I couldn't even see. That's how much
You were overflowing.
Yes, overflowing, but we fit everything in there for the people on my list, and I left my older kids there because as a mother of 4 kids, I think it's very important for us to show them at a young age, start at a young age, on how to give back.
Exactly.
And how to help your community any way, even if they're just seeing you and they're not really physically helping you because they're little, they're seeing you do something for somebody.
And like we said earlier, you're leading by example, and that's what better example, right? To see that you are, and I'm a firm believer in that. Working with the youth, I always tell them, I say, we want to go serve the community. We want to give back because, you know, blessings will come your way, but we also want to be able to help and serve our community. That's what we're about. And I think that's the heart that you have is wanting to serve the community. And not only that, but also showing and leading your kids in that direction. As they grow older, they'll realize, you know what, we do have to serve our community and whatever we can do.
Yes, absolutely. And you know, I'll tell you a little bit about where that stems, if that's okay with you. My father worked for over 20 years with Laredo Housing Authority, and he was in charge of the elderly citizens home. So he would all sorts of services if they needed anything, help with their bills, or they needed groceries, or any kind of medical equipment. Like, that's what my dad did. So my dad passed away. I lost him 3 years ago, but I feel like I'm honoring him. And there's days that, because this is, and we'll talk about it later, but it's turned into something more than just what I did that day. And I'll tell you the story in a bit, but it keeps me going. My dad, the memory of my dad, and I just know that he would be wanting me to do this. So, you know,
he instilled that in you.
Yes.
By what he was doing, you saw that, and it's what you're doing with your kids right now as well.
Yes, you know, because it's not only for me. I'm seeing the necessity. I'm seeing, you know, families, people that have worked all their lives and hard all their lives, and they've never asked for handouts, and they've never, you know, I always tell everybody, don't let your pride get in the way, you know, but I understand, you know.
Yeah, Mexicans are very prideful, very prideful.
Yes, and because my, you know, and I understand too, you know. I think to a certain extent I'm like that, you know. But there's a necessity right now,
right?
And it mentally and emotionally, days it can be very draining when you hear their stories,
right? And
I cry with them, and I pray with them, and we're gonna get through this, and we're gonna get through this by community, by people that help, by us watching our neighbors, you know, and looking out for each other. But getting back, I got off track a little bit, but getting back to my story about that day, well, I delivered from about, I want to say we started about between 8 and 9 in the morning, I want to say, till about 8 at night. We were delivering.
Wow.
Close to 9. And we delivered every single apple, everything that was in my little, you know, SUV. And I left my kids there to help volunteer. And it was a great day, and I felt really good, and my kids felt good. Well, I got a call that later on that night from Pastor Robles saying that the city had shut them down because, again, the day before they had shut down the city. So he had a lot of fresh produce.
Yeah, we have an overabundance because of, again, COVID. There was too many people, they didn't want people congregating that much. But a lot of times you can't stop these things because people, they're in need. It's like, well, this is where I'm going to get my food for the next 2 days maybe.
Yeah. And so being little on me, I didn't know what he wanted me to do exactly, but he called me. I was called upon, and I always try, people ask me, I always try to figure out a way or a solution. There has to be there's a solution. Where there's a will, there's a way. They don't say that for any, just for nothing. So I reached out to our local Dellview association president, and we try to figure out a solution. Unfortunately, next morning came along. We weren't able to do what we had planned to do, was use one of the city offices from the county commissioner. But again, we understand because there was a complete shutdown of the city. So I never take no for an answer, and I never say no to anything free, especially if it's food and seeing the necessity.
Right.
So I went ahead and reached out to Pastor Robles and told him we were coming for the stuff. And we did a real quick impromptu hub at my house. In my neighborhood, and within an hour and a half, I want to say less than 2 hours, everything was gone. Everything.
Wow.
Neighbors came, they helped out in my lawn, and we were able to get rid of 260 whole chickens, venison and fruits and vegetables and so much stuff.
Right.
And we were able to do it in a safe way as well, with the guidance of Mr. Salinas, which is the president. He helped out a lot that day, and from there it just blew up to something more than me.
It's growing, and the need is there, and again, you were just one person, and a lot of times we think, well, what can I do? And you realize that once you start doing something, God opens doors, and sometimes it may be a very humble beginning with one or two that you serve. You take a box of food to a neighbor. But the thing is that there's so much that we can do. A lot of times we just don't want to do it because we're lazy. Let's be honest. A lot of times we're just lazy, and we're like, no, somebody else will do it. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
And when the opportunity is there, like, I think you're like a go-getter, and it's only you, really.
Yeah, it is. Yeah, I have to agree with you. There, and I'll be honest. I live my life a mile a minute. I wake up and I'm in all sorts of organizations. It's hard for me to say no, and that's I think my downfall. But sometimes I've learned. I've gotten better throughout the years. But I'll be honest. If it hadn't been for COVID, I don't think I would have reached out to my community the way that in this way. Right. When COVID happened, everything just ceased. All my meetings, all these organizations I'm a part of, everything was just, so I was kind of like a tiger at home, like caged in,
Like, what do I do now?
What am I going to do now? So it's been a blessing. It's been more, I think I've benefited more spiritually, emotionally through this experience than me helping my fellow neighbors, because I have met amazing neighbors, and let me tell you this, my list started with one lady and now it's almost to 150, pretty much 150. I went from having just a handful of volunteers that I met that day that were there for chickens that ended up helping me, to a team of over 40 volunteers. Okay, so these are not just names on my list. I know every single person on my list. I know who they are. I know where they live. I know you're talking about.
You make it personal.
Yes, and the majority are elderly, 60 and above. And the reason why I focused on them was because they're the most vulnerable to this. And I know that I can't feed them every day, but I can help a little bit.
And the need is there, of course, absolutely. I think this, when we were talking about when I met you and Pastor Robles when we were meeting, I think he saw that and I saw that as well. And we have an organization it's called Bridging the Gap, of course, but I think we want to extend it out not just to our community or our city, but outside of the walls of San Antonio, which we have Hope for the Nations. And I think he saw that in you, and I think all of a sudden it's like, hey, do you want to be like kind of like a director for this program?
Yes, I was very surprised by it, but I'm sorry, I interrupted you.
No.
Oh,
I'm just
okay.
saying that, all of a sudden that's popping up because I think he saw your heart and your willingness to serve the community. And we were, looking, again, to be able to do more than what we can do just within our community or our neighbor and extend that outside the walls. So Hope for the Nations is exactly that, not just here, but outside San Antonio and whether in Austin, as we've started before, or in Uvalde, or wherever the case may be. To be able to have someone that would take that on like you're doing and be able to provide more resources that you can do more with. So
Yes.
I know that's kind of like, all of a sudden was kind of thrusted in you and
Well,
something that you may consider
Yeah.
wanting to be a part of.
No, absolutely. And I'll be honest, in these past 6 months through this whole experience, I've learned things and I've seen things, and I'm really excited about Hope for the Nations. One of the reasons why I came to talk to Pastor Robles was because I follow him on Facebook, and I see what Second Chance Ministries does for the community, for San Antonio, for the city, because they're all over. They don't just help their little neighborhood like I'm trying to do.
Right.
They help everybody. And it's not, I've seen organizations, there's a lot of talk, yes, we'll help, yes, we'll do this, we'll do that, let's do this. But at the end of the day, nothing's really getting done. And I understand it's hard because people work, and a lot of people,
Sure.
all of this is done on voluntary basis,
Yeah.
But I see from Second Sense Ministries and Pastor Robles that they actually, put in the work, and they do it. They're not just saying, oh yeah, I'll help, or I'll do this. They go out and they do it.
Right. I've always said that, we're 99% action and 1% meeting, because a lot of times it's the other way around. We have 99% meetings and only 1% action. Well, I mean, I guess it may work for some people that think you're limited to what you can do, but I think that, like I said, the need is out there, and we're trying to, meet that need whatever way we can.
Right. And so I was offered an opportunity a couple months ago to take over the Dellview Food Pantry. So there was food in the pantry. There was, it was a room full of food, and we had our last drive, and I said there's no reason why we shouldn't even have one can left in here because people need food.
Right.
So we went ahead and did a food distribution and got rid of everything. So, and that's why I was talking to Pastor Robles, because now that the pantry is empty, I'm depending solely on our neighbors to donate. Yes. Right. And food, and I do have great neighbors. I mean, Dellview, I'm sorry, I just love my neighborhood so much.
No, absolutely.
And
you live
all
there.
and so
and real quick, I want to interrupt you there, but
Yes.
but when you said that, I kind of feel in my heart right now that if anybody's listening right now and maybe God has put in your heart to donate, maybe even wanting to help, you just don't know where, this is a good opportunity for you to maybe say, you know what, I have been wanting to do something. Now maybe I have a reason or a purpose to go and give my time or donate food. Will you welcome food that people would want to donate?
Yes, absolutely.
Where-
I never
where-
say no to free, especially when it's food. And people laugh at me because I have people showing up all day, all hours of the day at my house, and they drop by food. Now that I have the pantry, they can drop it off there,
So how can they reach you, or how can, if somebody wants to donate something, how can they reach you right now?
Oh, okay. So you could call me anytime.
Okay.
Just don't call me late for dinner.
I use that too.
I know, right?
You can call me whatever you want, just don't call me late for dinner. Yeah.
Yes, sir. And so my area code is 956. So
Okay.
I'm still 956, but it's 956-229-0622. And again, it's Lupita Gutierrez. And my email address is gtzlupita33@gmail.com. So you can contact me. Again, we're taking donations, anytime.
And you're in need right now, right? Because you don't have anything.
We are, yes. And that's one of the reasons why I reached out to Pastor Robles, because I just wanted to know how I can better. You see, like you said in the beginning, I'm just a neighbor, and had COVID not happened, I don't think I would have been doing this. But now that I am, and I'm fully committed to helping my neighbors, and I want to help feed them or whatever they need.
Sure.
And I wanted guidance from Pastor Robles and to kind of see, so after our conversation, he mentioned about the Hope for the Nations. And I really like the mission, and I'm excited to be involved in wherever he needs me. If he needs me as a director, I'll be the director. He's gone to know me. I'm a go-getter. When I commit myself, I'm 100% committed.
Yeah.
And this is all heart. So, and I know that the people that are working with me, my volunteers, they are all hard too. And they're willing to do. But I do want to mention with the Hope for the Nations, several things that, a few things that popped out is that the Hope for the Nations is serving all areas of San Antonio.
Right.
Not
Northeast,
just
southwest.
Yes, north, east, southwest, all of San Antonio. So that's something that I'm very interested in, because he became a hub for me to be able to give that food to my community.
Right.
So if we can get this off the ground and going, and I know that there's many organizations already involved with this, it'd be great. Like you said, volunteers are absolutely essential.
Yes.
And I believe in taking care of your volunteers. So, for example, if you volunteer with me and you've gone to the distributions I've had, you get your antibacterial gel, you get your mask, you get your gloves. We have a food for you, water for you, first aid. We have a hub we have our own little tent for volunteers where they check in, whatever they need, they can go there.
Right. Safety is of course a priority.
Yes, and appreciation. So I'm actually organizing a volunteer appreciation dinner for all my volunteers, and we have an organization coming to cook for them. So they'll be able just to drive through and pick up a plate for them and for their family. So I think taking care of your volunteers is essential as well.
I agree 100% on that.
Yeah. So yeah, and moving to this Hope for the Nations, I'm excited.
Well, that's, it's something, again, like I said, the need is there. If you're listening out there, if you want to be part of this, we definitely welcome you to be part of it. We're coming to the close of our interview here right now, but thank you so much. I appreciate it, Lupita, for what you're doing. It's so awesome. I see a lot in you and how I believe, and I know that it's difficult and it's hard, but things are hard right now as it is, but we're here to be able to help people out in whatever capacity we can. So if you need to say something really quick,
I just wanted to say thank you for having me, and to everybody listening, reach out to a neighbor, and thank you so much. God bless you.
Thank you again,
and stay safe.
Amen. Again, listeners, thank you so much for tuning in. We're at the end of our radio program here, but if you need to reach out to us or contact us, or if you'd like more information about our guest here today, or maybe some of our other interviews that we've done in the past, you can call me directly at area code 210-550-1966, or visit our Facebook page at facebook.com BTG Radio 1. And you can hear some of our past guests that we've had on our interviews, or you can go to our YouTube channel as well. There you will see some of our videos of our past interviews. Thank you again, and we'll be here again next week. God bless and take care.
This has been a Power of God production. This program has been sponsored by Last Chance Ministries and KDRY Radio.